Hey guys, and welcome to my today's Tech Talk. This will be my first episode, and in this episode, where I'm going to be driving into why the IBM CEO Arvind Krishna is skeptical about the massive investments fueling the AI gold rush. And honestly, I've been putting the alarm out there for the same reason. Feels like everything AI is a buzzword, and everybody's putting money in without actually knowing how to monetize it. So I figured that maybe we'll break this down one by one, section by section, since he is one of the first major CEOs of many companies to actually point this out, going against the what the market is asking him to do, which is, hey, invest more in AGI and go further with it. So let's see. So the first thing he mentioned, which is actually quite interesting, he says there's an $8 trillion price tag. So let's start with, basic on his Verge Decoder podcast, Arvind Krishna said, there's basically no way that's going to pay off with the current costs. And the reason why, let's break it down. So one A1 super data center, which is like 1 gigawatt data center, is roughly around $80 billion to build and equip. The industry wants to put 100 gigawatts, which is about $8 trillion in total capital spending for AI, based on the plans that the public and private plans that they have. So the financing cost of all of this, is what he said, is around $800 billion in annual profits needed just to cover the interest payments on this investment. That's ridiculous. He goes on to say how unrealistic it is, and to put this $800 billion in perspective, that's figures dwarfing the combined yearly profits of today's big techs, titans. It's like expecting one industry to cough up an entire Apple's worth of profits every year just to break even on data center cost. The math just simply does not add up. And then he also observed that tech companies announcing huge AI farms, requiring tens of gigawatts of power, even some eyeing beyond 100 gigawatts of capacity. Basically, he's asking where's the $8 trillion return going to come from. If the revenue from AI does not scale up drastically, and we're talking an eightfold jump to meet those interest payments, these investments might never pay themselves. And basically, if you do the math, there's no way that's going to pay off with today's infrastructure costs. Now, you might think, okay, $8 trillion over a decade, maybe it could work out. But here's the worst part he also mentioned. The AI hardware doesn't last long. Just like pretty much any, technology hardware, it gets old and needs to be replaced. Just like your computer, every few years needs to be replaced. It gets outdated. This Krishna pointed out that the expensive AI chips, like those, like the GPUs powering the machine learning algorithms, depreciate fast and need to be replaced every 5 years. In other words, by the time you build these giant data centers, you're in the clock to overhaul them with new hardwares every few years later. Let's give an example. So let's say you've got to use it all in 5 years, because at that point you've got to throw it away and refill it. Imagine spending tens of billions of dollars on cutting-edge AI servers only to send them to the scrap heap by the time the next hardware generation arrives. This constant refresh cycle dramatically compounds the cost. It's like a never-ending treadmill of spending, and it seriously undermines the long-term returns on these investments. Krishna also points points here is crucial. Even if companies somehow manage to fund the first build out, they'll have to pour even more money to upgrade every 5 years. So the sustainability question, just can't. Can we afford to build this once? But can we afford to keep doing this over and over again? He also points out that the reason why the companies are spending trillions is the reason they're pretty much just chasing the holy grail of AI, which is artificial general intelligence. AI is as smart as which is pretty much, AI is as smart as a human at any task. But Krishna points out, he's very highly doubtful of today's technology will get us there. He pegged the likelihood of reaching AGI in a current report between 0 to 1%, which is very low. So that means 99 to 100% chance. Best case scenario is 99% chance that we won't reach it. And he's not the only person on the skepticism. The other fields other people in the field have also cautioned that scaling up existing AI models probably won't magically yield human level intelligence, as OpenAI's Ilya Sutskever, I think that's how you pronounce his name, recently put it, the age of simply scaling up might be over. We likely need new research insights, not just some more chips to reach AGI. Krishna suggests that today's architecture, mainly large language models, would need something fundamentally new, perhaps integrating symbolic reasoning, hard knowledge, to move needles towards AGI. So while the hype implies that AGI is around the corner, if we invest enough of IBM, he just doesn't see it. He is essentially saying that even with a 100% increase in compute power, it might not be transformative enough to get to the AGI. So we're not there yet, guys. But even during the podcast, he goes on to say, it's not all doom and gloom, right? It's not all waste of money. He explicitly rejects that we are in a bubble. This is his quote. He says, "We are not in an AI bubble. We're in an infrastructure bottleneck." He explained. And in other words, the technology itself has value, but our ability to deploy it cost effectively is lagging. I don't know if you guys been in any projects. It's the same throughout. I think it's like 90% of all AI projects fail. They just, it's very rarely that you will see value in it, or at least in very few industries that you see values in it immediately. If anything, it's more like an assistance to make your work more efficient currently. And as most coders still know, that it still lags a lot behind in terms of helping you code. A lot of it you still need to do. But he goes on to actually acknowledge that today's AI can deliver, tremendous value. And tools are, there's already tools that are boosting productivity and efficiency in many sectors. Krishna expects these tools in their current form to drive substantial enterprise productivity. So you can see here the AI data center value chain that I put up there. Even and I'll put it anyway. And all of these are not even close to, AGI. No, none of these companies will be able to get that. Think of what you can do is you can think of AI systems that can automate customer service, right? Like, or help doctors analyze medical images faster, or Copilot, a coder to write software more quickly. None of these are still perfect, right? But they can help make your job more efficient. Some analysts do predict that it could increase trillions of dollars worth of productivity growth in the next decade. So not as fast as people think it's going to happen, but there is tons of growth potential there. I think what's going to happen is the bubble's going to pop and then slowly rise again. I think things are going to start to normalize a bit. They're saying, hey, maybe we're not there yet, and it'll start to, come back slowly. All these tech layoffs, I think, will recover, hopefully within a year. So let's a little deep dive on the ROI, right? So AI, there's been a chatter about whether, we're in an AI bubble. Krishna says no, he doesn't call it a bubble ready to pop, because unlike, say, the .com bubble, here we have a tangible advancement in use case, right? However, he does give stark warning that return on these massive investments may fall short to expectations. So there is value, but there's going to be massive shortfalls on the expectations, and all this talk about AI stuff, it's going to crumble, because a lot of people that, a lot of companies and a lot of people that forward this are not technical people. They're mostly business side, right? They see ChatGPT doing a few things and they think, oh, wow, it can do everything, but it can't, right? It's not, just doesn't work the way it should. So basically his message is not to run away from AI, but be smart about AI. I mean, the technology is going to be here to stay. I mean, we've only invested billions and billions of dollars. But the current spending frenzy, it will cool off for a bit. So one of the problems that I was always come with seeing this AI bubble and all this talk of AI hype is some consequences that are occurring with all these investments and how are they getting the money. And let's look at let's extract some real consequences. For example, tech companies have been making tough choices in pursuit of dominance. Case in point, there's this company that just recently announced a 14,000 person layoff. You guys know which one I'm talking about. It's headlining, it's a grabbing move. On the surface, it was framed as part of a cultural shift, an efficiency drive. But industry insiders note it's a deeper motive. It's freeing up funds to invest for AI infrastructure. The reports suggest that Amazon is relocating its resources towards its AI and cloud computing ambitions. One analysis pointed out that by cutting 14,000 jobs, mostly corporate and support role, Amazon can save an order of $1.5 to $2 billion per year. And that can be directed into chips, data centers, and energy capacity that power AI. In other words, Amazon is tightening its belt so that spending on big things like AI chips, computer chips, and other infrastructures for AWS and its AI projects, which I honestly don't see the point of that. I mean, $1.5 to $2 billion is nothing in the grand scheme of things, so I don't understand why they would even do it. And it's not like they're really truly hurting. So let's say, like a single advanced AI data center can cost over $1 billion to build. A top tier one, like with NVIDIA's H100 GPUs, runs tens of thousands of dollars each. So it's not surprising that, Amazon keeps up the rivals with the AI race and cuts elsewhere. The company's even invested $10 million in new AI innovative campuses in North Carolina, a clear sign of future priorities that they want to establish. So it could be that they're letting go of certain roles only to hire other ones as well. And Amazon's not alone on this. There are other companies that are doing this too. We all know them. More than likely, you guys probably know exactly what I'm talking about. So in conclusion, amid all this AI frenzy, yes, AI revolution is industrializing, is revolutionizing industries and holds promise of trillions of dollars in productivity gains. But the infrastructure underpinning the AI revolution comes in with eye-watering price tag that even the richest companies might struggle to justify. And spending $8 trillion for potentially negligible ROI is not a sustainable path. We discussed the brutal 5-year hardware cycle that makes AI a bit more of a money pit if you're not careful. Also noted that the AGI's very goal of driving much spending is far more guaranteed at a 0 to 1% chance with the current tech that we have. So, as we wrap up, the conversation is just the beginning, right? Will companies heed this warning and adjust course, or charge full speed ahead and hope for the best? Is this solution a new technology like quantum computing or better chips that could change the math, or new business models that focus on similar or smarter AI use? Or we'd love to, hear your comments below. And thanks for listening and delving into this critical topic with me. And the AI era is unfolding in real time, and voices like Krishna reminds us that keeping our eyes open. Until next time, stay curious, keep questioning, and that's how we'll navigate this exciting, uncertain road to AI power future. Thank you, guys.